I feel like we've almost, I hope, reached the end of the multi-year saga of the corporate tax rate, where it was once at 35%. Donald Trump dropped it down to 21, but then we got a Democratic president who swore he was gonna reverse all that, kind of, by bringing it only back up to 28%. But that's not good enough. We can get it less raised than that, America. And that apparently is what's gonna happen, because the universe of Democratic senators concerned about raising it just back to 28% is broader than Joe Manchin, who's talked previously about that being unacceptable. And the rate will apparently land at 25%. Parties close to the discussion tell Axios. Democrats who've hinted they may be uncomfortable with going to 28% include Tim Kaine, remember the VP pick not that many years ago, Mark Warner, Kirsten Sinema, and John Tester of Montana. Now that is not only much less of closing the gap provided by Donald Trump, but in addition, it could be a problem for Joe Biden, because while increasing the rate from 21 to 25% would raise about $600 billion over 15 years, it would leave President Biden well short of paying for his proposed 2.25 trillion 8-year infrastructure plan. And so he's gonna not do what he said he would do. Corporations are gonna win out, and maybe he has to significantly cut his infrastructure bill. So this is all good news for someone, just probably not any of you watching this. Francesca, what do you think?
I mean, this is one of the most no-brainers in all the land of no-brainers. I know we're gonna be talking a little bit about Dr. Seuss later, so I'm there. In a no-brainer Monday morning, raising the corporate tax rate makes absolute sense, especially, I mean, and this is the thing, right? If you're trying to get any of the plans that Joe Biden has for this country, if you're gonna, BBB, build back better, you better raise, I'm calling it BBB, triple B. You're triple B, you're gonna have to, you gotta raise the corporate tax rate. It makes no sense. And you look at other countries like Germany and France, countries that have a higher tax rate than the United States. And they are also countries that have a way more robust social safety net. So this is very much part of, if we're trying to break with the neoliberal Democratic past, which it's unclear, jury's still out if Biden really wants to, but it seems like some of his spending indicates that he is, then this is part of that. We're gonna have to raise it.
Yeah. I think you're totally right about the taxes. I'm concerned about what this means for the infrastructure bill, like our vague small hopes that it would expand beyond 2.25 trillion. I don't know how you build back better with this. I'm beginning to regret my BBB tramp stamp. And so this is bad news for a lot of people. Now, one good note, according to Axios, is President Joe Biden's plan to increase the rate US multinationals pay on their foreign earnings from 10.5% to 21% is less controversial and stands a better chance of remaining intact in the final legislation. That would raise an additional $700 billion. And the White House technically hasn't backed away from the president's proposed 28% rate, but indicated it's willing to find a compromise to pay for his spending plans, even though, as we pointed out, it doesn't pay for the spending plans. The compromise literally doesn't do anything that he's saying it does. Democrats close to the White House expect Biden will accept 25% and pocket it as a political win. Well, you should be eager to find something to pocket, since you won't be pocketing a lot of money raised from corporations, because Trump lowered the corporate tax rate by 14 points, from 35 down to 21. That is 14 points, or roughly a 50% decrease. They were gonna raise it to 28, a 7-point increase. So it was gonna just go up half as much as they had cut it. Now it's gonna go up 4 points. What is that? I'm not a mathematician. Is that like 30% of the cut that they just had? And it's not like 35% was insane. A case could have been made that could have been raised, especially as we'll get to when you acknowledge that lots of corporations don't pay that. They don't pay anything near that. They don't pay 35%, they don't pay 20%, they don't pay 21%.
Yes.
So this is just so, the politics of it suck. There's no point in criticizing Axios for the way they present this, because Axios is gonna Axios, but the idea that like they may be uncomfortable with going to 28%, these senators, why? What makes them uncomfortable? What makes the 28% controversial? Stop asserting things and not defining them. They're uncomfortable because of the pressure put on them by their corporate donors who don't wanna pay more money. How are you gonna imply that without making it explicit? Maybe they're audience is just so politically savvy that it's unnecessary, or maybe they're so in the know about what politics is actually intended to do that we don't want to like make them uncomfortable by pointing it out or anything. But it's important that people know what is actually determining all this. Kyrsten Sinema isn't uncomfortable because she's superstitious about the number 8. She's uncomfortable because she gets paid by those donors and she wants to deliver for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, she and the rest, I think, are opening themselves up, and they should be opening themselves up to other Democrats coming in and naming what they are unwilling to do. And look, these are also states, Montana, Arizona, they've also been run roughshod over when it comes to corporate power. Amazon is huge in a state like Arizona. So once again, like, what's really interesting about the ways that the United States promoted so much neoliberal economics around the world. Okay, all these countries in the global south, lower your tax rate, blah, blah, blah. So long as American companies are on top, so long as American companies are on top, so long as American companies are on top. But the American people, they're not on top. And you bet your ass that like, they are definitely coming for American workers. If you think we've exported all of this like race to the bottom politics and economics for so many years, of course these same companies are gonna look at the American workforce and American states and say, absolutely, I will gouge this exact country where I'm supposedly from in the same way that I gouge everywhere else. And I will say, we're gonna talk about the American First Caucus. And as racist and xenophobic as that is, the one shred of truth that I think Trumpism has is when it points out that some of those free trade policies have not benefited the United States and the United States workforce, not in a xenophobic way, but in a legit, able to put food on the table way. So I think it's really important that these Democrats get on board. And once again, we're in a political system where dark money is rife. So it's sort of this it's a puzzle. How do you unclench the little senator's claws from their dark money purses, or their cute little whatever middle-aged life crisis purses in Kyrsten Sinema's case? So it's one piece of the puzzle. I'm glad that that the rate for taxing profits made abroad is going up. That is really big. But it's gonna take a lot more to rein in corporate power in this country.
Yeah, especially when, as we pointed out, these rates, whether they're raised to that or not, are not what they're actually going to pay.
Right.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.